Now coming to preparing the DAF. So the DAF has a lot of areas, we discussed that in detail before. Now coming to detailed preparation of the detailed application form, the first thing is about the personal details. Yep. So coming to preparing the detailed application form, there are a lot of areas which you have to look into. I am just picking up the major areas and then letting you know how to prepare it. So coming to the first area, that is your personal details. So here you have two aspects which you have to see. One is your personal questions and the second thing is your biodata. So personal questions are questions like why do you want to join civil service, or why do you want to be an IAS officer, and why did you take any particular so your personal questions, it can be like why do you want to be a civil servant, or why do you want to be an IAS officer, or it can be questions like what is your strength, what is your weakness, and why didn't you crack it after 4 attempts or 3 attempts, and something like that. They could ask you something very personal, and for this you should have a genuine answer for this. So for why civil services, there are a lot of good points like diversity of the service, and the opportunities that it provides us, and how it can be used to serve the society in a positive manner. So these are things that everybody says. So I'm not saying that you have to say something that is not your reason just for the sake of sounding different, but you have to give your answer from a place of conviction. You should know that you are saying this and this is exactly why you want to do this. So for example, if they tell you that if you say that, sir, I want to serve the society in a positive manner, they might ask you, but you are an engineer or you are a doctor and you could serve the society by being that too. So why not that and why this? So for all this you could answer well only if your answer came from a place of conviction. So such personal questions, nobody can help you, only you can find it within yourself. Try to introspect more and try to find answers to all these questions, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and you don't have to project yourself to be someone you are not. You can be a bit honest there, but you don't have to be too honest also. Try to take a balanced view. Next is your biodata, that is the details about you, your name, your parents, their work, and what your where you have studied, your schooling, your college, the subjects you have taken in school, and your place where you're coming from. So things like this comes in the biodata. So that also you have to prepare well. For example, I'll tell you an example. So in the biodata part, you have to prepare a bit about yourself. For example, your name, your parents, what they do, and details about where you're coming from, where you did your schooling, and which subjects you took up in school. Things like that comes under your biodata. And this should not be done on a superficial level. For every topic, you have to go one level down to understand what exactly you're talking about. I'll give you an example. My name is Meera. So they might ask you if there are any other famous person with the name of Meera. So I can always say Meera Bai, who is a very famous historic figure. Or I can say there is, or they might ask me a question like, are you aware of who Miss Mirabai Chanu is? And because my interview was during the time of the Olympics, I was expecting that question. So there is, from my name, I got into Mirabai Chanu. So they might ask me why athletes from Northeast are doing so well in sports, and why is it not being emulated in other parts of the country, or are there any models in Northeast that can be that you find is contributing towards the success in sports from that area. Or I might get questions like what is weightlifting, and how much kilos she lifted, and who did you watch the the event online. So or I might get questions like what is weightlifting, and did you watch the event live? So I can get questions like this, and I'm supposed to watch an event by Meera Chanu because I am a person who shares name with her, and she was achieving such a remarkable feat for the country in the Olympics. So as a patriotic Indian, and as a person who should show an interest in a lot of areas, I was supposed to watch that match. So I just went and saw the highlights of the match, and I try to understand what is there. So this is being thorough on your personal details. I didn't have to go to that extent, but then I was prepared for it. Similarly for Mirabai, I went and studied the history, the myth associated, the bhakti movement in detail, and then how bhakti movement came to the south of India, whether any other bhakti poets in Kerala. So I had to link it with other subjects that are of concern to me. So that is how I took every keyword from my DAF. For example, another example if I have to give you, my mother, she's a teacher. So there was this new education policy that came, and there is a lot of debate on teacher training happening. There is this coronavirus and online education debate happening. So there are a lot of things in the field of education which I had to be aware of. So this I got from my mother's career of teaching. So similarly for every keyword that is of concern to me in my DAF, I prepared extensively. Now coming to your home district and home state, this again you have to prepare very thoroughly. So one thing I did was that I used the syllabus of GS to try to limit the information that I am trying to procure. For example, we have a history, geography, economy, polity, environment, then we have disaster management, we have internal security, we have things like this in GS. So for all these topics I try to link it with my state and my district. For example, the economy of Kerala. So there is this issue of Gulf returnees and the corona pandemic and how it impacted the economy in Kerala, how it is a service sector based economy, and is the Kerala model sustainable. So that is about the economy part. Similarly, what is the history of Kerala, what is the geography of Kerala, and that of my home district, which is Thrissur. For this also I try to find the history, geography, economy, who is the mayor, who is the chairperson, who is the who is my panchayat president. So things like this I try to find out about my home state and home district. Now another thing is that you should not sound very parochial when you are speaking. So when there is a question like okay, in Kerala there is a lot of service sector based economy, so why do you think this is there? So I should not say things like, sir, Kerala has the highest education and our people are one of the very with good communication skills and everything. So I should not brag about my state, because Kerala is just another state in India, and that is how I should take. So I'll take it from a neutral point of view. I'll just say that, sir, Kerala has a good education sector, which might be one of the reasons. That is it. I'll not say that, sir, my state is the best state in terms of education. I should not say that. Okay, I should look at it from a very neutral point of view. Now coming to your, and again, if there are any issues with your state, feel free to admit it. You do not have to think that you are coming from this state. So there was this issue of dowry deaths in Kerala. I should not say that, so no sir, it was just a one-off incident. I have to admit that there was an issue there, and this might be the reason for it. I should not be too short-sighted, and I should not be show my Kerala identity over my national identity. The national identity should always be on the surface. So that is about the home district and home state. Now coming to your graduation subject, again very important. You are supposed to go back and brush up on your basic graduation subject. So I did mechanical engineering, and here you have to see three major areas. One is the subject as such. The other is the current affairs associated with it, and third is link with other areas. So I'll tell you how this works. So the first thing is the subject itself. So they might ask me what is the first law of thermodynamics, or what is the difference between say annealing and quenching, or they might ask me how a flight works or how a train works. So as a mechanical engineer, I am supposed to know the basics of all this. So that is about your subject. And then there is the current affairs part. So we have a the government is trying to introduce electric vehicles, and so what is the difference between the traditional IC engine and the electric battery fueled vehicles, or there is a new biofuel policy coming up. So what is biofuel policy, what are Bharat standards, and what is the difference between BS4 and BS6. So as a mechanical engineer, I am supposed to know all this. So that might come as a question. And then finally there is this last one, that is link with other areas. That is, they might ask me, as a mechanical engineer, how can you contribute towards the services? How can you use your mechanical engineering knowledge for as an Indian Administrative Service officer? Or they can ask me, as a mechanical engineer, how do you try to improve the infrastructure of your home district? Or they might ask me, so you have your optional as sociology, and why not mechanical engineering? So things like that also might come up. And then as a girl, you can always expect questions like, girls are not generally taking it, so what can you do to improve the women participation in STEM disciplines or in engineering disciplines, and why is there an issue of research and development in India? What can be done to improve it? So questions like that might come if you are from a science background. If you are from other disciplines, again relevant to that discipline's questions might come. So that is about the graduation subject. Now coming to work experience, so there is this thought among a lot of aspirants that if you do not have a work experience, then you might get some less marks. That is not the case. Everyone is getting high marks and low marks, and it has nothing to do with if you have prior experience or not. The only thing is that you should be able to, again as I said, explain with conviction why you prepared for 3 years, 4 years, why you didn't go for work, and why you stuck to UPSC, or why you don't have a work experience, and if you have a plan B, what it is. Try to have a good answer for that. And then for those people having work experience, again there are 3 areas for this. One is your domain, the other is the company, third is again link. So again, my domain, I was working as a quality analyst. So they might ask you questions like the principles of quality, or how can you manage quality, any question like that. Or they might ask me questions like, my company, it was L&T. So they might ask me something about the infrastructure of India, about the national infrastructure pipeline, or about something that L&T did in the recent days. For example, in my 2018 interview, there was this L&T acquisition of Mindtree. So they asked me what kind of acquisition was it, what are the impact of it, etc. So that is about your company. And then again, as I said, linking with other disciplines. So as a quality analyst, how can you improve the quality of administration in a particular area? Or as a quality analyst, how do you see the standard of education in India, and how can you improve it? So questions like this might come, linking with other areas of your DAF. So that is the link aspect. Then there is the hobbies, achievements, sports. So this thing, again as I said before, you have to keep this to a minimum. Just give 1 or 2 hobbies, 1 or 2 achievements that you can actually prepare on. But if you have something that you definitely have to present before the interviewer, you are sure that if you put this across and the interviewer asks you anything and you can answer it, then definitely put it there. If not, do not put it. So one thing I did was, in my 2018 interview, my hobby was just quizzing. And then as I said, I got a lot of factual questions. So I had this in my mind that because of quizzing, I got a lot of factual what, when, how questions. So this time I changed it into organizing quizzes. So I'm just telling them that I'm not very much into quizzing, but I am more into organizing quizzing events, so that I can also show my capabilities as a leader and as an organizer also. So this was one subtle change I made. It might be the reason why I didn't get any factual questions, it might not be, but the level of confidence that it gave me was very much remarkable, and it was very important for the interview process. Yeah. So that's about hobbies and achievements. Do not bluff here. Do not put a hobby that you do not have, because they might know more about it than you, and you'll be caught, and that will give you a very negative impression. So please do not lie here. Finally, there is a service and cadre preferences. UPSC do not generally ask questions regarding this in the interview, but if you have a very particular thing in your, for example, if you have not given your home cadre as the first preference, then they might ask you why you have not given it. Or if you have not put the IAS or IFS as your first choice, if you have some other service as your first preference, then they might ask you, it might catch their interest, and then they might ask you why this service and not this. Or in my case, I had not given foreign service as an option, so they could have asked me why not, why didn't you put foreign service in your service preferences. So that is again, but generally questions do not come from here, but even if it comes, it is something that you can deal with. You are not judged on the basis of this, okay. So there are certain people who feel that they have to give all the services in a particular order, because otherwise they might judge you on the basis of that. So if you do not want a particular service, you can leave it. They are not going to judge you on that. It's just that you should have a logical answer to why you're not putting it. That's all.